Alright, it is now time for Act 7, Chapter 3, which is the introduction of the Kang boss. Now, the Kang boss is still one of my favorite bosses in the entire game, and I cannot wait to rematch him very, very soon. But first up, we need to go over some paths and some bosses before him. So first up is Quest 1, and Quest 1 is a really fun quest because it has this run and gun path. This run and gun path is very, very straightforward, and it can be done with pretty much any 7-star champion. So for this challenge, this is 1000% the path to go with, and additionally, the boss in this quest is very, very straightforward as well. And look at Rocket Raccoon, man. I pulled this guy, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, and he didn't impress me that much, but in this chapter, he is honestly fantastic. So he did great there, and this Agent Venom fight is definitely kind of hard because there is the unblockable specials node as well as the running gun and mighty charge. So Agent Venom has an unblockable SP1, and Agent Venom's SP1 is pretty much impossible to dex, so you take some pretty nasty bleed damage. But if you play it right, you can avoid it, but it's not the easiest thing to do, right? So you might take some damage, but just bring a bleed immune 7-star like Mcoc. Mcoc, just such an MVP here, man. I wish I had the 7-star version, but then check out this damage. We dropped the SP2, and yeah, Sunspot, just doing Sunspot things. You'll love to see it. And the path after this isn't really too difficult, like the rest of the fights that is. So now it is time for the boss. And the boss, between Red Goblin, Ultron, and Taskmaster, Red Goblin is by far the easiest one here. He can be done with any champion essentially because he doesn't have any nodes that require a counter. He has unlimited power, which is just nothing really, and then he has burnout, which actually helps you. So there is no need for a specific counter, just use your best 7-star characters. And that's kind of a trend for this chapter at least, which is pretty good because not everyone has a ton of 7-star champions, right? That was my worry about this challenge, that people wouldn't like it because they don't have enough 7-star characters, which is understandable, right? Because 7-stars are still very new and not everyone has a ton of them. Like my Arya account only has one 7-star champion, and I can't really do all the quests because of my limitations. But on the main account, I have like 30 of them, so I can do it for sure, right? But yeah, this Red Goblin is no big deal. He is just pretty much the easiest boss. And before we move on, I just want to say I am rushing this because once I beat this challenge, I get my first ever Titan Crystal, and I cannot wait for that. I cannot wait any longer. I need that Titan Crystal, man. I've been waiting for it. And the pool got updated, and this updated pool looks really, really good. There is Jabari Panther, there is Spider Ham, there is Photon and Vox, as well as the new Iron Man and Gladiator. So y'all can just have your fun with that. I want to see the reaction of someone who pulls a 7-star Gladiator because, yeah, who likes Gladiator besides me and like 3 other people? But that was the boss down, and now we have Quest 2. So for Quest 2, your best bet is to go on this Incinerate lane. There's a Shock lane later on in the chapter, so I got them mixed up. But this lane also has Redoubled Determination, so watch out for that, because if you place too many Incinerates, then you won't be able to attack them as much because of their power gain. So Sunspot seems good for it, but he honestly isn't too ideal for this path. Champions that aren't really debuff reliant, like Mcoc, I'm just saying, could be good here. Champions like Hulk right here, but Hulk also gets a ton of debuffs eventually, so watch out for that. But for the most part, this is a path where you can use pretty much any 7-star champion yet again. And I like that there is a path in each quest, at least once, that can be done with any champion, because that makes the challenge a lot more doable for the players that don't have that many, 7-star characters. So now for the boss, you have CGR, Old Man Logan, or Immortal Hulk, right? Yeah, Immortal Hulk. So Immortal Hulk has Do Not Go Gentle, I believe, which is just a massive no in my book. And also, Old Man Logan has this really annoying arrogance node, which is all about falter, which I do not like in the slightest. So your best option here, in my opinion, is Cosmic Ghost Rider, who just has Energize, and he's just really annoying because he has Energize. And I cannot stand Energize, especially on a CGR that just is trigger happy with his SP1 and his SP2. But yeah, I mean, it's the easiest thing to do between the three characters, so you gotta work with it, right? And the best option for this fight is pretty much just anyone. Don't want to say it again, but Mcoc is going to be great for this fight. I'm just pointing it out. I know, I mentioned him too much, but I'm just saying he's a good option for this matchup, man. He has the power steal. But yeah, Hulk gets it done as well, but it's a bit of a longer fight. And now we have this lane, which is Mystic Curse as well as Rejuvenate. So I feel like this is the best path to go with in this quest if you have the right champions, which is just any Mystic 7-star. I think any single Mystic 7-star can take this path, and that includes, who would have thought, Mcoc. And yes, I'm just saying him 1,000 times because I don't have him and I'm sad about it. So I just want to let y'all know that, yeah, he can do this, and I would do it with him if I had him. So yeah, instead I have to use America Chavez, which is no big deal. She is a great champion, of course, but it could be Mcoc. But like I said, any Mystic champion works for this path. If you don't have a Mystic champion, then I think the second best path is the Rising Sun path. It is a bit annoying, but once you get used to it, it can be done with essentially any champion. But this path is by far the best one to go with if you have the right character. Like I said, a Mystic character, Mysterio as well works pretty well. But this is now the boss fight, so you have a choice of 3 spider characters. First up is Spider-Ham, automatic no. Next up is Stark Spidey, who has heavy assault, which is pretty sweet, but also has Be Like Water, which is not so sweet. And then you have this Stealth Spidey, who has evasive maneuvering, as well as tenacity. But he also has Foresight, so Foresight is a massive help here. And honestly, if you have Venom, then you'll be fine because he works for any 3 of the fights. But I prefer this one because it is a lot easier, and there is no unblockable with the Stark Spidey, or there isn't any of the Spider-Ham shenanigans. So I think this guy is the best one to go with. Can he be done with any champion? Probably, but it'll be pretty annoying. So if you have a Venom, then I would just use him here because, Spider-Verse character, he is the perfect counter to them. And yeah, this fight is a pretty quick one, but I almost got destroyed there. I don't know how I survived. That man had a 350% cruelty on him, and it didn't one-shot me still. That is pretty insane. And that shows how powerful 7-star champions are. The health pools of these characters are absurd. My rank 2 Venom has about 70-something thousand health, which is, yeah, pretty crazy stuff. So this 7-star challenge, I like it, man, because it is somewhat challenging at times, but with the right roster, it's also just really, really fun. And that is Stealth Spidey down, and now it is time for Quest 4, which is the Mystic Quest. So the lane that you want to do here is this Live Wire node, because it is doable with any champion yet again. Just don't use too many debuffs because that'll be a problem for you. But besides that, you can use your favorite 7-star. You can use the legend Mcoc. There are a ton of options here, and this is your canvas, man. You can use any 7-star that you like. You can use Mantis, Rocket Raccoon even. Just have some fun with it. And yeah, Psycho Man here, no big deal. One of the easier fights on the lane. The lane has some pretty annoying champions like Dragon Man, so watch out for that. Maybe bring a science character for him, but besides the Dragon Man, there isn't too much challenge. There is a very annoying Strife though. Strife is a awful defender. I cannot stand fighting him. Really underrated whenever he is max sig. But this fight goes pretty well. Venom just a beast of a champion. Look at those hits, man. 17,000 mediums and the fight is now over. So not too shabby in the slightest. And now we have the Mystic bosses. So you have Symbiote Supreme, who has Ebb and Flow knockdown, which is super annoying, as well as ability power rate immunity. So that is also very annoying. And He has Feats of Power as well as Steady Perseverance, so he's stun immune as well. So this is honestly just not the way to go. Then you have Doctor Strange, who has Ironclad, which is basically just Thorn, so it's really annoying. So that's also just a massive no. And then your last option here, which is the best one, is Sorcerer Supreme, who has Steady Build-Up, Unblockable, and Spite. So your best option here is a buff immune champion like Titania, or just any champion that doesn't have to dex too often. So I use Silk, right? And I know not everyone has a 7-star Silk that is rank 2 and awakened. I know that, okay? Sue me. Let me just use her once, please. I want to have some fun at least. And look how crazy Silk is, man. This is just the epitome of amazing. This is a 49-second boss takedown. Silk is just that good. Such a crazy champion, man. And that is the Chapter 4 or Quest 4 boss down. Just like that. Now it is time for Quest 5, and Quest 5 has an even easier lane here with this Healer Hide as well as Vigorous Assault. So the game plan here is to just not let them trigger regen, and that's pretty much it. There is nothing too difficult, to be honest. You can use anyone here. You can use, you know what, I won't say it, just kidding. You can use Mcoc for this path if you wanted to, which you should. But here we have Hulk. Hulk is just a monster for this path because it is pretty much just use your best damage dealer. And besides Silk, Hulk is my best damage dealer. Actually, no, Sunspot is, but besides those two characters, it is Hulk. And yeah, Hulk is just a beast, man. Honestly, I've read that people are using him for pretty much everything, which makes sense. And he is the best 7-star champion in the game for a reason. I called this like a long time ago, so I'm pretty proud of that prediction being correct. And yeah, Hulk is just doing Hulk things. You'll love to see it. This man is just unstoppable, literally sometimes. And yeah, look at that. The fight is just down. Not too shabby in the slightest. But now it is time for pain, and a lot more pain. Just so much pain. So we have this Warlock boss, and I cannot stand this Warlock boss with a passion. So your options for the bosses are Cable, who I think is like pretty much impossible with any champion that isn't like one of 5 characters. So I would just pass on that. He is so annoying to deal with. He has Supercharge, Enhanced Abilities, Vigorous Assault. It is just a horrid boss fight. So I would not touch that fight ever again in my life. And then you have Elsa Bloodstone, who has Evasive Maneuvering, which is basically whenever she gets knocked down, she gets an evade charge, and when she evades, she does damage to you, and she gets an opening, and she one-shots you. So that's always a fun time, and so that is just not a good boss either. So your best option is this lovely fellow, Warlock, who is not fun at all. I cannot stand this boss fight, oh my gosh. None of these bosses are fun. Like, they're all just terrible bosses. Like, Cable is the hardest boss in Act 7, in my opinion. That is, like, a regular boss fight. So I cannot deal with that one. Elsa isn't that bad, but still super annoying. And this Warlock fight is just really annoying, but still pretty doable. So, yeah, this is just a really not fun chapter of the whole thing, because the boss fight is guaranteed to be a very tiring slog fest. But you know what, he goes down, and that's all that matters. Silk is just that good, and yeah, it is what it is. Very boring boss fight, very just not fun boss fight, but thankfully the boss after this is the opposite of this Warlock, right? But first, the path. So the best path to do for any account is the Poison node, because it has pretty much nothing to worry about, and it can be done with any 7-star champion, even, you guessed it, Mcoc. There's the last mention of Mcoc for today, and I apologize, but this path is the second best one in my opinion, and it is the selective time stream lane. So this one is very niche, because if you don't have a Sunspot or a Shuri, you're pretty much just not going to do this one because you can't really do it. But if you do have these champions, then it is 1000% worth it because of the nodes that it gives to Kang. The node it gives is called Charged Up, I believe, and it gives you increased attack rating during the wounded phase, which is really helpful for getting the boss down as fast as possible. So yeah, this is overall a great lane to do, but now it is time for the boss fight. This is probably my favorite boss fight in the game. I'm probably in the minority of this one, but I really, really like it. It's just so fun, man. I love the power control that he has against you, and he's just a fun time, man. I enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. So let's see Hulk go up against him first. And this boss fight is really fun, like I said. So how you do it is he inflicts either power drain or power gain on your special attacks. If you dex it, you gain power. If you block it, you lose power. And you want to have the correct special attack ready whenever the timer is about to expire. Or you can just drop the certain special attack while the timer is still up to complete your mission and get a slipstream charge. And at every certain amount of charges, he gets wounded and you do your damage. So that's how this boss fight works. But it's just really fun because I love the power gain and drain and like working around that and strategizing around that too. It's just fun, and it's very simple as well. So yeah, this is my favorite boss fight in the game. Maybe it's tied with Catalyst because Catalyst is just fantastic as well. Both just top tier bosses, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's a tie, but I still love this boss a ton, right? And Hulk just destroys this guy pretty much, but then I do mess up eventually, which is unfortunate. But yeah, what I told you before about like the power gain and the drain and like the slipstream charges, it applies to the entire boss fight. Like the phases don't really change anything except for one thing. The amount of power that you gain or that you drain changes depending on the phase. In phase 2, you gain extra power and you drain less power, but in phase 3, you gain less power and you get drained more power. So that makes it pretty hard to get to the SP3. So it's honestly a pretty fun time. And check out this Rocket Raccoon takedown. This man is crazy for this fight somehow, but honestly, any champion works for this fight, which is another reason why I really like this boss fight. You don't need a certain counter, you can just use whoever you want, though there is one funny interaction where if you use a power drain immune champion, you honestly get messed up big time from it, so avoid that. Avoid using Venom, who is surprisingly bad for this fight, despite having class advantage. But yeah, you can use anyone, really, besides the power drain immune characters, like I said. And that's why I like it so much, because you can just use your favorite, and I do that. Well, Rocket isn't my favorite, to be honest. I don't really like him, but I thought, you know what? He should hit pretty hard during the wounded phase, and he does exactly that. So check this out, man. We're at almost the amount of slipstream charges needed to get into that next wounded phase, and once we do, it is just gonna be a very, very fun time. Now look at this. No, okay, hold on. It's the next one. I'm sorry. I totally just misguided y'all there. My apologies. But check this out. We dex, we get the power needed, we go back in, he does it again, we get the power needed, then we drop the SP3, and now check this one out. I think it's the wounded phase after this. Is it? Let's see. Yes, it is. Look at this damage, man. 24,000 mediums, 15,000 light attacks. He is going down fast. Rocket Raccoon is just being an absolute beast right now, and he almost got him down in just one single wounded phase. So yeah, this guy, he just gets it done. Super, super cool champion. Like I said, mixed feelings about him initially, but now I start to appreciate him more for sure, and he is just a really cool champ. He is a Rocket Raccoon. He is a raccoon that has a jetpack. You can't dislike him, really. Like, that's kind of impossible to do given that he is a raccoon in a jetpack, right? But now it's time for the final phase after this last one wounded cycle, and the final phase is so goofy, and it's one of my favorite final phases because it is just so fast, and you either survive or you get one shot, and there is zero in between. And it is a bit RNG reliant for sure, but it's still just super fun. So we're about to hit it after this, I believe. We can get to 1 bar of power after this, and then we're golden. And then check it out, man. So 1 bar of power now, and then we're almost done. Actually, no, we have to do 1 more after this, unfortunately, but it's fine. We dropped the SP1, no big deal. And now this is the last power requirement needed to get to the wounded phase. So let's see what happens after this. So it is now time for the final phase, and check this out. So in the final phase, you race against Kang to your SP3. Whoever wins the fight, right? Like, that's just how it is. So you have to be as fast as possible here, and if you lose, then you are just one shot. It is such a fun final phase because it is so fast and it requires a bit of luck for sure, but it's still just really fun. And there we survive and we drop the SP3, and check this out, man. Kang laughs at us. He is about to get blasted into the next dimension and he laughs at us. The audacity of this man, right? But it doesn't matter because look at Rocket Raccoon. He has it fully loaded and then boom, there goes Kang. And that is Act 7, Chapter 3 complete. So, one more chapter away from my first ever Titan Crystal. I am so excited for this, man. I just cannot wait to try it out. But let's see how it turns out, right? But let me know your thoughts on this challenge so far. And yeah, that's about it for me.